Hello, Gloria. Hi, Femi. Can anybody hear me? I'm just testing the audio, if it's clear enough.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Not bad. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to officially welcome everyone to Zinc webinar today, the rise and rise of women in tech. It's great to have us all on board.
I don't know about you, but I'm so excited to be here considering our speakers for today. We are all officially welcome to Zing webinar. This webinar is brought to you by Zing, powered by Investment One. Before we go into the business of today, I would like to, give us a warm welcome and also give us a few information about our sponsors for this webinar today. So today I will be giving us a brief overview of Investment One and what we are all about. All right, so Investment One Financial Services, we are a diversified investment organization that provides various investment services as well as financial services. Let me give us a brief history of Investment One. We were incorporated in the year 2008 as GTB Asset Management. And we used to be under GTB basically, and we used to be known as an assets management subsidiary of GT Bank PLC. And then in 2011, following a new regulatory requirement, we diversed from the company and we became Investment One in 2012. So our goal as an organization is to become the leading non-banking financial services group in Nigeria. So as mentioned earlier, we provide diverse financial services as well as investment services. Some of our services include trust. We provide mutual fund options, digital banking, which is our Zing app. We also provide real estate, pension, private equity, so many options. But we started from somewhere. In the year 2012, after separating from GTB in 2011, in 2012, we offered services such as wealth management, stockbroking, we were an issuing house, and we offered trust service. And then in 2020, we took it up further, and then we started offering pension services and pension as well as mutual fund investment options. Then in 2014, we started offering real estate. We added real estate services to our other options as well as private equity. 2015 and 17, we took it up again. So you see there is like a progression. We are all about giving various options, giving better service. Then in 2015 and 17, we started offering SME and venture capital, and then we became a finance company. And then 2011 and 2018, digital banking, which is Zing. And then currently, these are the list of services we offer, from wealth management to stockbroking. We're an issuing house, we offer trust, we offer pension, we offer mutual fund. Whatever your investment goals might be, we have various services suited for those investment goals. So let me tell you about our digital banking service, which is Zing. So Zing is an omni-channel. That means we provide our services are available on various platforms, from the USSD to the web and mobile application. That means it's on the Google Play Store as well as the App Store. So we provide various services like goal-based automated saving products. We offer investment opportunities. You can even trade on the Nigerian Stock Exchange on your Zing app. So imagine sitting in the comfort of your house and being able to pick this stock or that stock and earn interest on your money. So the Zing app has all of those options for you. We also have mutual fund options on the Zing app. We have targeted savings with very, very attractive interest rate, up to 10% interest on your money, talking about your money working for you. And the good news is we are currently rewarding our new users. So we are aware that some of the attendants of this webinar, some of you are yet to use our Zing app. So if you are not yet using our Zing app, I would like to officially welcome you on board. You can just download the app on the Google Play Store and on the App Store and get rewarded, because we are all about rewarding our clients. So download the app, complete the sign-up process, and fund your account, and then you can get rewarded. So you can contact us through any of those platforms. We're very active on our social media platforms, from Facebook to Twitter and Instagram, also on LinkedIn. Or you can also send us a WhatsApp message, or if you want to hear any of our representative voices, you can call us, and you can also send a mail or visit our website. So now moving on to the business of today, drum roll. I'm really excited considering our speakers for today, and I hope you are too. I would like to bring in our group sales and marketing executive, Francis Eboye. He will be introducing our speakers for today and giving us some details about who our speakers are for today. So with great pleasure, I would like to welcome Mr. Francis Eboye as he takes the floor.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Gloria, I hear that I cannot start my video, but okay. So I want to. I'm so happy to welcome all of you to this session, and it's a wonderful session. And it's a session where we'll have women talking about tech and how they've grown through the ranks to actually build big businesses in tech. I do believe that as we embrace diversity in our workplace, we need to understand the value that women bring in our workplace. So, and I also think that in a place where in an industry where we've only been seeing men, and women are now entering into this space, and they're really doing quite a lot. So I would like to introduce the 4 amazing women that are with us to share their experiences and how they've risen to the top and how they've done well in their various businesses. I would like to start with Miss Yemi Kerry. Yemi Kerry is the Chief Executive Officer of Hekabela Limited. Hold on, please. Gloria, may I see the slide? Okay, maybe I'll go on. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yemi Kerry is the Chief Executive Officer of Hekabela Limited, a technology business transformation company. She's an award-winning, commercially minded technologist with over 20 years experience in the ICT industry, operating at CEO and C-suite level across the public and private sectors. She's a member of my board, so I'm so honored to have her here. She's on the board of Investment One Financial Services, the Nigerian German Chamber of Commerce, and many more boards. So Ms. Yemi Kerry, thank you very much and welcome to this session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're able to put up our videos.
I think we should be able to. Can we allow that? I see they said the host has stopped it. So who is my host here? So please allow the videos, please. Okay, I think they'll sort that out. Let me continue. The next person I'd like to introduce is Mrs. Nkemdili Uwaje Bego. She is the CEO of Future Software Resources Limited, and she's a seasoned information technology professional with over 15 years. Thank you very much. Oh, what has happened again? I think, okay, yeah, okay. I can see Ms. Yemi Kerry sporting our usual afro. You're welcome. Nkemdili Bego is CEO of Future Software Resources. He's a seasoned information technology professional with over 15 years of industry experience in Africa's largest emerging economy, with a deep purpose and focus on bridging the digital divide and transforming Africa by harnessing the benefits of going digital. Nkem is recognized as an Obama African leader, the Forbes top 10 female tech founders in Africa, Global Digital Women top 10 most inspiring women in Africa, Lionesses of Africa top 100 women, and Ventures Africa 42 most innovative Africans. I doff my. So welcome. We came to this panel. I was so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll now move on to Tomilola Majekudumi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Bankly. I'm so happy with Tomilola. I just watched a Tech Cabal session where she just finished speaking. So we're so happy to have her here on this panel also. So she's gathered professional experience in the investment industry. She gathered professional experience in the investment industry, then proceeded for her MBA in Singapore and Australia. She's a recipient of the Cartier Awards 2021, a recognition of her work in building financial products for the unbanked Nigerians through Bankly. So you're welcome, Tomilola.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you. Okay. And final, Dr. Mayokun Fadeyibi. She's the Vice President Commercial at AutoCheck Africa. She was recently at Cars 25, where she was the Vice President Commercial. Before joining Cars 45, Mayokun was the Chief Operations Officer, Vice President for Innovation and Strategy at Sankore Global Investment, and before that at OLX, where she worked as the Senior Manager, Business Development and Acting Country Manager in Nigeria. Dr. Mayokun Fadeyibi, you're welcome to this panel.
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. So thank you very much for gracing this panel. So I'll hand over to my colleague, Tilewa, who will be the anchor for this session. Thank you very much and welcome. To you, Tilewa.
Thank you very much, Francis. And like you said, I feel really honored because I get to talk to 4 amazing ladies. When I was reading their profile, I doffed my hat like 1,000 times also. And I spell my amazing with 2 I's, so that's Z-I-I-N-G. And some time towards the end of this program, we'll get to see why and listen to a 1-minute video that explains that. So let's get down to today's event. And let's start with Miss Kerry. And it's really interesting and amazing to even speak to you. I know I've had some conversations with you in the past as well. And one of the things I noted from your profile is that you received the Centenary Award for the most outstanding public sector CIO in Nigeria in 2014. You have over 20 years experience working in technology. And, I try to remember what 20 years ago in technology must have been like. I'm sure it wasn't common to have a woman going to tech. So why did you make that uncommon decision? Could you help shed some light on that, Ma?
Okay, thank you, Tilewa. My story stems from the fact that I needed to have some type of slowing down. I am actually an accountant. I studied accountancy in school, and I sort of have sort of versatile skills. So I went through banking, through construction, and then I started work at an advertising agency, and I was running the helm of affairs there. But at a particular point in time, you have to take a rain check. Here I was going for naming ceremonies and weddings. And I was now becoming a cheap bridesmaid all the time. So I had to take a rain check, and I said to myself, if I continue my career this way, I won't be able to settle down, because I didn't have time for long-term relationships, as it were. And so I took a deliberate step, and I said, okay, what would make me want to slow down? So I now decided that I was going to look for a job as a secretary, that kind of thing. I mean, I don't mean that the job of a secretary is not tasking, but that I would be able to sit down in one place, and when my boss closes, I'll close. And so I applied for a role at SAP, which is it's a German technology solutions provider. And I was working as the administrator, liaison officer. But they say the leopard does not change, it cannot hide its spots. And ever so often I was doing way beyond, I was coming from C-level sort of, and I came to this administrative level, and I was doing way beyond. As cutting the long story short, as God will have it, my bosses decided, at the time it was Folabi Esson. He decided that he'd had enough, and he was going to resign. And so they were looking for someone to do business development and run the office in Nigeria. But just to keep the office going, I started doing things that were beyond my remits. So I was doing sales, I was doing, pitching, and I was doing all of those things. And the numbers started to grow. And so after a year or two of looking for somebody that would take on the business development role, they offered it to me. And so it started my stint into technology. And then I had to go and start learning how SAP works. I had to go and learn solutions architecture. So I had to dip my hands into everything. And so it's really, I'm one of those children that was brought up with parents that you're either a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant in those days, but then life and destiny took me the other way. So that's the beginning of my story.
Very, very interesting one. I'm sure we'll probably just have like a side chat to get the entire picture. But thank you. I'm sure along the line you definitely met with some challenges. I mean, deciding to even move from accountancy to technology, there must have been some challenges along the way. Is there any specific one you'd like to share with us?
Oh, there were so many. You're going to a sales pitch, so somebody has called you to come and you don't have the slightest idea about the business that you're going to pitch to. And so you have to learn and relearn and self-educate. And then you also have to pull on the knowledge of those around you. So I would call Germany, and I would, keep them on the phone, and that time there was no Zoom, keep them on the phone and ask questions and, so that I'm prepared. So one of the critical things for us as women is that you have to over prepare for yourself, because you really are stepping into a world where it is domineering, and if you are not confident and you do not know, then you'll be you just stick out like a thorn. So for me, the major challenge was the transition into a world of technology and technology through and through, and having to understand various businesses. So I had, at a particular time, I was pitching on NNPC. I was doing, Delta State had been sold, but I had to repitch. I had Dangote. I had 4 major deals that I was chasing, but I needed to understand what they were all doing. So for me, that was a major challenge. And you can't go somewhere representing a brand and start to say MMM. So for that period where I thought in my mind's eye, I was settling down so that I could get married and have children, was one of the most tasking periods for me, in my life, because I really had to stretch myself but don't always forget to reach out, because you don't know it all. So that's pretty much how I went through.
We're going to have a very, very interesting time with you. We've touched on a couple of things that we're going to even delve more into. So getting support, also having the necessary social skills, being confident, not sticking out, yet being visible. So those are some areas that we'll still, come back to and touch back on. So let me move to Nkem, if I can. Yeah, I can delete, but let me call you Nkem. One thing I find really great about your profile is that you have you've walked in your father's shoes, and that's not easy. Many parents would like their children to do that. So why did you choose to do so? I mean, most people in my generation now do not even want to do what their parents are doing, but you chose that and you've done excellently well. But the question is why, and what can parents or women learn from that?
So this is a very good question. I'm actually not the only one walking in my father's footsteps. I have two sisters and they both work in tech as well. So we're all walking in his footsteps. I think that, sort of the home plays a really big role in the career choices that you make. And I think that it's really how you are exposed to something, right? And I think in our household, technology was always present and it was always something that we were pushed to use to create, right? So it was not to play, it was not to, sort of like have fun with. Yes, you can have fun with it, but you must be creating something, right? And I think that, I think that's what excites anyone who is in tech when they create their first program or they make something, like whatever it is, whether they're using Photoshop or, create a document and print it for the first time, right? It's exciting because, and, you have to remember, this is not 2021, this is like 20 years ago. So technology was very different. And, like I remember growing up and, we always had a computer and we had those big, like when floppy disks were still floppy disks, right? Before they became the smaller hard disk floppies, and like, I think just going through that transition and always having that exposure made a really big difference. And it just made, I guess, all of us really curious as to what else can we do with this technology. And we've all had very different paths into technology in my family. I'm actually the only one that studied computer science. My two other sisters, one of them studied business and finance, and the other one studied international relations and politics. But when you meet both of them, they've spent quite a lot of time in technology, especially my younger sister who studied international relations and politics. And I think when you speak to her, you would never know that she didn't study computer science, right? I mean, on the way she picked up different programming languages and, she became certified in blockchain. And, so I think that there are many different paths into that technology space and many different ways to be in the technology space and many different roles to play within the technology space. And I think the most important thing is early exposure, right? For children, especially nowadays, right? I think that we always have to remember that the rest of the world is further ahead in a lot of the things when it comes to technology than we are, which means that our children already have a disadvantage naturally just by being born African, right? And I think that that's where parents really need to play a really big role in exposing kids to technology in a safe way, exposing them to things that they may not learn in school, right? So there's always that, the standard that you learn in school, but then there's that little extra that you can do as a parent to ensure that kids have that exposure and that they get curious and excited about a particular field, right? And I think, to go back to the question of why, why did I choose to walk in his footsteps? I think for me, it was just like technology is so exciting and there's so many opportunities and there's so much you can do with it. And you can transform the world with technology, right? And I think we're seeing that happening every single day with new startups coming up that are disrupting, that are transforming industries, that are shifting mindsets, that are shifting regulation, that are shifting policy, that are shifting human behavior, right? There's nothing else that is more powerful or more exciting, at least to me.
Thank you very much. We'll also, you mentioned something that I picked on, which is early exposure. And that's one of the questions I'll have later on how we can encourage women, girls, starting at girls, ladies, and women to come into technology, because it's really important. There's a skills gap and we need to fill it. And let me move on to Mayokun, maybe because of what you said, but I remember reading her profile, and I read somewhere where she said she had 6 sisters, and really early on she was exposed to technology also, because they had a programmer that came in during her teens. And even from then, by reading through her profile, the word that keeps coming to my mind is continuous excellence, because you moved from uni, PhD, all the way down to AutoCheck. So when you look back at your life, Mayokun, do you recognize that point when you decided, yes, this is it, I'm heading in this direction? And what were the circumstances that made you make that decision?
Thank you, Tiliwa, for that question. So I actually have 5 sisters. There's 6 of us. And I think you're right in saying, I think for me that really influenced my journey in life, and the fact that culturally, our society sometimes looks down on the girl child. And one of the things my dad was very conscious about was in ensuring that he reinforced us as women. And he told us that, listen, you can be whatever you want to be. And he planted that in our minds right from when we were kids. And that for me has always driven me such that, yes, I knew that I was a woman, but I also knew that I wasn't limited. That belief in myself had been reinforced right from when I was a child. And in moving into technology, so I started in college studying mathematics and computer science. And actually I started in computer science, but then in computer science, you have to take a lot of math classes. And I ended up realizing that I actually enjoyed the math classes even more than the programming classes. So I could code, but sometimes there's some little things about coding that you really have to have some patience with. So essentially, I then changed my major to where it became, I was a math major with a minor in computer science, so I still did both. And one of the interesting things I saw there was, even then, I was one of the only women in the class, right? And it was very important to me that my gender would not hold me back. And also sometimes just the men in the class thinking, okay, because you're a woman, you can't do it, or you can't understand it. And so as I took that journey all the way from college through to my master's, and even with my career, it's been very important to me that excellence, because I believe that then once your excellence and your work speaks for you, your gender really doesn't matter. People can't argue anymore about your gender, because then your work has sort of made the point on your behalf.
Thank you very much. We'll also talk back on biases, because there's unconscious biases in technology. It's just normal, and every woman has to find a way around it, manage it. And yours is being excellent. And I want to hear more as well as from other people. So let me get to Tomilola, which I call Tomi. She reminds me of someone who wants to solve the most challenging problems. And I want to hear that, why she decided to solve that problem of banking the unbanked. I imagine so many people have gone down that road and said, no, I can't cope with this. But you're there, you're very, very positive about that decision. I want to hear more on why you decided. And if you had any specific challenge, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, thank you, Tiliwa. I'll say it's an honor, first of all, to be here with Ms. Kerry and Ms. Owaje and Maiwa. I'll say I didn't set out looking for the most challenging problem to go solve. No one set out to go look for trouble. I'll say that prior to Bankly, it was just, I was leading a team that was trying to solve access to nano credit for the specifically unbanked. And it was just an understanding. And while I was doing that, I joined the research that was looking at how financial inclusion should happen in Nigeria. And I joined this research with Axion. So I would say it was just certain insight looking at the industry and understanding that a lot of tech is kind of a slightly existing, just how can we expand it for everyone to be able to serve them? Zing will want to serve people in the extreme north, people where they don't have access. So how do we bring these people into a digital space that everyone can then layer on investment opportunities, insurance? But it just didn't come to me. It was during research, and also while during that, I can see, okay, during that, while I was leading the micro lending product, I found out that it was easy to provide lending to the unbanked, and they go to an ATM to withdraw cash and all of that. But it then became difficult to digitize cash. So it became difficult because the informal sector was making money daily in cash. How do they convert the cash they made into its digital form to pay back whatever they were taking? So it was during just, I think my foray into fintech or into technology was more around being frustrated about setting limitations to serving a certain segment, and also doing the research to understand that there are there are proven methods to do this thing, and just being committed to trying to solve it myself. And that's how I stepped in. But about challenges, we all know that the space itself, specifically fintech, is male dominated. And so a lot of time you don't have a network as much as they do to leverage. I like to say you don't have the boys club or being at the bar drinking with them, because you have the specifics of being a female in that space is different. And in engaging, you also have to be careful not to send the wrong message, not to send the wrong, you're in an environment where if you're seeking out someone, you have to be careful not for the person not to misunderstand what your request is or what your needs are. So absolutely, that as always. So you have, as a female founder or as a female CEO, you have to keep worrying about certain things that your male founders will never have to think about. You have to worry about how you would appear in being certain settings that your male founder will never worry about. And of course, you walk into certain meetings, and I've had an experience where I walked into a certain meeting talking to one of the big partners, and the meeting was going very well because I was my CTO. I've shared this story a couple of times. I was my CTO. I was with another. So there were like three of us, two men, and I was the only female. Meeting was going fine, very early days of Bankly, until I pulled out my business card, and we're meeting with four men, and he just looked at it and said, "You are the CEO." Like, I knew that all of you were together, but I didn't realize that you were the boss at the top. And I said, yes. I said, do you understand what you're doing? But he didn't worry about what we're doing when he felt like my colleague could be the one, your guy at the top. I said, are you sure? And then he started asking weird questions. And we walked out of there, and I'm like, is it only me? Or because I didn't want to. Sometimes you're also careful not to look like you're being on the defensive. And I'm like, is it only me? Was that a bit condescending? My co-founders and my partner said to me, that was downright condescending. It wasn't, I'm male, and I could tell that. So you have to also deal with all of that, but not take it personal, because like Mayokun said, your excellence, like it's, I say people become believers. You don't seek out, they're not obliged to support you in the beginning. Maybe they should, but your excellence would not give room for doubt about whether you deserve to be where you are, and your result will show forth for it. So I think I'm very aligned with the previous speaker on that.
Thank you very much, Tomi. I'm sure everyone in the audience agrees that I'm blessed. I'm actually the one who is supposed to be blessed and honored, surrounded by four strong, very strong women who have achieved great things in their careers. And one question that came to my mind while preparing for this is that sometimes, we women, we sometimes feel stuck when we are moving up our careers. We go into the early stage. How then do we navigate the ladder, the corporate ladder, to move up to mid-level and, do what Ms. Kerry has done to sit on the board? How do you advise women to be able to navigate those murky waters to get to mid-level, senior level, board level? Let me start with you, since you're here, Tomi. What do you advise women to do?
If I understand the question correctly, how do you advise women to kind of navigate the upward trajectory, whether you're in career or in business?
In business.
I would say that the first thing for me is get the required support. Even as a founder, I leverage a lot of my partners, I leverage a lot of my board members, investors. And when I say leverage, I reach out to them. I need time in your calendar. I have this challenge, and bring in like deeply requesting for it. People are willing to help, but they're not going to come seek you out to say, hey, knocking on your door, what's the problem you have? What's your challenge? People are willing to help if you come upright and say, and speak to them. If I reach out to Ms. Suwaje tomorrow and say, I have this challenge, I think you have more experience and I would like to, she's open to help, but she won't come and DM me and say, hey, whatever your problem is, come give it to me. I think that's one. I think within the career, a lot of people talk about mentorship. I think sponsorship is what is the main. Find an anchor sponsor. And we have it in every level of career. I joined Meristem as someone who had no background in finance, no background. So I'll say part of being able to jump straight from sciences in school, straight into the finance world was not something I did on my own. Joining into that institution, I had people I reached out to from my MD. I leveraged more than one sponsor. I would speak to 3 people and they would tell me that there's this opportunity internal, I think you'll be a fit, go apply for it. There's this course, I think you should be doing it. There's this exam, you should be writing it. And so all of that information helps. And because they know they told you to do it and you're able to give them feedback that you did it and they engage with you deeply, when an opportunity comes, they are very happy to think this person is because they are aware. They are not, I think that communication, when you find an anchor sponsors, they know what you're capable of, they know what your capacity is, and they know how they can help you to get there. And I think that's one of the most important things, because even after I left Meristem to go to work, to go to school, while I was in school, I was getting the notification that we're starting a new division. Are you willing to come and lead it? I didn't feel like I had the skills before I left, but because there were meetings going on where my name was being spoken. I think if she's willing to come back to Nigeria, let her come do this. That didn't happen, but it's just having those people who are speaking for you into those rooms where you're not is the only way to grow your career, to grow a business. And also, so the support is the only thing I can say, and I'll let others share what their thoughts are on there.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Kerry, please, can we have your views, ma'am?
You know, for people to be able to speak for you, like Tomi is saying, you must have the knowledge, you must have the capacity, you must have the skills, and you must show yourself out there. It's important also you don't necessarily have to shout, I'm this, I'm that, but your brand must speak for yourself. They must understand what your value is, you must understand what you stand for, and they must understand your character. I will not go somewhere and recommend someone on a board that I know is just feisty, you know, because my own reputation as a recommender is also on the line. And so for you to be able to navigate from one level to another, to have your mentors and your sponsors, you must first work on yourself. And you must know what you are looking for. There are certain people that say they want to sit on boards just because, you know, and there are certain people that are cut out to give back to society and to be able to share their knowledge. And when they are growing up the ladder, they continuously share this knowledge. And so that characteristic of theirs in trying to grow something else is one of the characteristics of being on a board. You understand? So when you're moving from level to level also, know if you really want to, you know, there's a path in your female life, right? Where you're going to have to juggle your career and your home, right? And it's important for you to understand what your capacity is, and then also leverage on your support structure. And it is at that point, if you do not have a support structure, you will struggle. And when you struggle, it will show in your output and your production of work. And then people will start to say, no. She has to go and do school run every day. So she would not fit for that, And so that is where all of those kind of things come in. So when you are getting to a certain level, prepare yourself to put your support structure around you. Whereas when you are supposed to go for the school run, you have already arranged for your child to be picked up. And, there are certain things you don't have to just keep. Sometimes I think that women, we cause certain type of reputation to be put out to us. When you continually say, my child is there, my child, I have to go and do this. It's either you want to do it, everybody knows you have a child. Some other people also have children, but they are minding the way they take care of it. And even if you're minding the way you take care of your children, but are always verbalizing an issue after it, then you are they would not select you over the person that knows how to do it and do it properly. And that does not know how to do it properly, but is always available. So you have to also mind, how you balance your life, how you are seen, perception of your ability to solve whether your domestic problems, other problems that surround you, and also your perception in terms of where you want to go in your career path. So really, it is important for you to know yourself and know your character and exactly where you want to go.
Thank you very, very much. You've touched on very key subjects. The way you are, the way you appear is the way people would. What's that word again? I can't seem to remember it. The way you are addressed is the way people just look at you, and you have to make sure you put the right personality out there so that people can take you seriously. Most people would not want to take women seriously. So if you want to be taken seriously, then you have to appear to be somebody who can manage everything that is put on your table. So that takes me to the next question on social skills. Typically when women want to work in a tech environment, they think only about being technically capable. And that's not all that is required. There's some social skills that men just do and it's second nature to them, but it's not for us women. And it's really important for us to be able to blend both our technical capabilities and the social skills so that people can take us seriously. We have to show to be confident. I know that has been mentioned. We have to show that we are able to manage all the juggle all the balls in our lives. And, it's something we struggle with, but I strongly believe it's something that we need to, as women, need to tackle. So I'd like to ask the panelists if they've had any experience where maybe someone they know or personally where we have to blend those skills. You have to blend being likable, not too likable, taken serious but not too serious. It's challenging for women. We just have to make sure we are somewhere in the middle. We're not seen as feminine, not seen as masculine, but I'll leave it to the panelists to take that. Maybe let me start with Mayoko.
Okay, thank you, Tilewa. So that's a very interesting question. And I'm actually in a very unique position right now where even on our senior management team, I'm the only woman and the founding team of AutoCheck. So I have 7 other men on the senior management team. And it's interesting what you said, right? Whereas women, we sort of have to balance that. But the one thing I've found out is that just relationships, right? And I think Ms. Kerry had mentioned this. As a woman, you can't go in and be all emotional, feisty, and just say that's the way I am. But you have to sort of learn how to balance your relationships, not just with the group, but also with individuals, right? Because in succeeding in your career, wherever you are, it's not just about your skills. You also have social capital, right? And you can't afford to just sort of waste that. So it's very important that even as the woman, you make efforts, right? Go outside of your comfort zone. Even outside of work, interact with your colleagues. Reach out to other people, and then even in leading other people as well, in leading teams as well, I think it's also important that you don't, I know sometimes we see that femininity as a crutch, right? Or something that might be negative. But the way I see it is own your femininity, but also make sure that in owning your femininity, you also make it your strength. Let people know that, because the truth is when you have a woman in the room, different perspectives come in. So own that and be willing to say, listen, I have a different perspective here. And you guys, I say to my team, actually, I say to the rest of the men on the management team, I have a different perspective. You might not see it, but let me explain why, right? And I'm willing to own it as a woman. But at the same time, I also point out the fact that in owning this, then don't look down on me for that opinion. My opinion is valid. As a member of this team, in my role as the VP, with the teams that I manage, my opinion is valid. So I think it's just striking that balance, owning who you are, but at the same time, also understanding how to manage relationships around you.
Thank you. Let me move on to Nkem. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you so much. So I honestly think that we should all be ourselves, right? You can only pretend for so long, right? And people will find you out. So I think it's really important to show up in a very authentic way. And I think when you do that, authentic yet professional, right? So if you know that you're super emotional, figure out how to work on that and how to, not be the woman who cries in the boardroom, right? Or wherever, in a presentation or something, right? And I think that we also need to, sort of have some kind of barriers and lines that we say, this is what we're willing to do and sacrifice versus this is what we're not, this is my non-negotiables, right? And I think that that's really important to state those things very clearly and state them up front, right? And be very clear about the fact that, you will, sacrifice on some things, but other things are simply non-negotiable. And I think we just need to also speak out when things are, when there things happening like meetings that are super late and you know that really and truly, I can't attend this because I need to go do bedtime with my child or children, right? And this is like a continuous thing, and you know that it's going to impact something in your life negatively, right? So there's a saying that life has two balls. There's one that's made out of rubber and it's called work, and there's one made out of glass and it's called life, right? So be careful which one you want to drop, right? And I think that as women, we know that we have these, sort of additional responsibilities, and we need to make sure that we state those things very clearly and state where our barriers are and say, okay, you know what, between this time and this time, I'm not going to take a meeting. Obviously, this is also comes with getting higher up the ladder, right? But if for me, my non-negotiable is I'm going to read a story to my son every single night, or at least I will try to do that, then I'm not going to take a meeting that falls within his bedtime. And I will tell you, I can do 9 o'clock. He'll be asleep then. You want to do 10? I can do 10. Anyone that you like. But I'm not going to negotiate on that thing that is really important to me, right? And I think that people actually respect you for making those choices and for communicating them in a very, sort of straightforward manner, right? Where you're just like, this is simply a non-negotiable for me, and this is how I, and I think that's how you then establish that work-life balance as well, right? So for me, it's things like, I am not going to do client calls on a weekend, right? And I started that a really long time ago. And I had many clients that were like, but our project is important. I'm like, that's great, but I don't work on the weekend, right? And that is my policy. If you don't like that, you can go work with a different company. And that's simply my stance. And I have taken that into every single, whether it is a committee I sit on, whether it's a board I sit on or anything else, right? that is my stance. I will make exceptions when I think it's important enough, right? But if you're just trying to push me because you're like, oh, well, she's a small girl or whatever, then it's just not going to happen. These are my rules and I'm going to play by those rules. So I think we also need to understand that a lot of the time when we think we don't have power or we can't be feminine or we can't show up like a woman, that those are actually the moments where we should show up like a woman even more, because if not, these things will never change, right? If you're not addressing, sort of like meetings that are happening at an hour that simply doesn't work, then that culture will never be broken, right? So senior women, especially, I think, have the obligation and responsibility to speak up and to raise certain things and to say, well, you know what, actually, I think that we can have this meeting later, or we can have it earlier, or we can have it tomorrow, right? As long as, the company's not gonna burn down overnight, right? Most of the time anyway. So what is the urgency to have this meeting at this particular time, right? If that's not suitable for a lot of people who are supposed to attend it, right? And they're just saying yes because they're junior. So I think senior women really have to, point things out. And one of the, women that I really admire that has done that a lot is Sheryl Sandberg. And in her book, Lean In, she talks about, sort of like parking spaces for women that are closer, for women who are pregnant, right? Because she didn't realize it until she was pregnant. She was like, why do I have to walk so far? I want a parking space right here in front, right? And then just having, she also created policies for, sort of restrooms and things, because she realized that they were simply not enough. And, there were a lot of issues that as a man, you simply don't see them, and your male colleagues won't see them. And your male colleagues oftentimes don't see some of the issues that we see, like Mayukun said. Her perspective is different simply because she was raised differently. She's grown up differently. She's had different experiences, but it is valid. And I think that we need to bring that different perspective into our roles as leaders within a space and actually start talking about these biases. Because the truth is that if you have a room full of men that have never experienced this, that maybe don't have wives, sisters, or anyone else in their lives that has told them these things, and a lot of the time women are not vocal about these things, right? Then they simply do not know. And they will continue not to know if we don't raise these things. So I think it's it's really important to be authentic and to, sort of have barriers and boundaries that you set, and and also be very strict on those. I've realized that a lot of the time, some of the things that are requested of you where you're supposed to be super flexible are not really that important. And whether it happens today or tomorrow, it's not going to, sort of like change the world. And it's okay to push back on certain things, right? That doesn't mean that you're not going to be excellent. It doesn't mean that you're not going to work hard. It doesn't mean that you're not going to give 150% and show up, right? You're going to do all of those things, but you have to have boundaries and barriers so that you can create that, sort of system that works for you.
Well, aside from your illustration, which allow me to be able to use somewhere else, on juggling the balls, the rubber and the glass one, and saying which you should drop, you should, like you mentioned, have to set proper priorities, have your rules, make exceptions to the rules. Don't let the rule itself be the exception. Make exceptions to your rules, but have your rules. And it's really, really key. And those are very important takeaways I'm going to, take off from your conversation. I'm sure the audience has so many things in their minds. You're taking away really brilliant ideas from our conversation. And I'd like to say to the audience that if you have your questions, you can start dropping them in the Q&A. We'll be taking your questions in a bit. But the final question I will ask on them at this segment has to do with skill building. So I find that there's a stage in a woman's life that usually when she's married and she has children, she's also working, and she needs to get additional skills. She needs to get a certification here. She needs to watch this video, write this exam. It's really difficult because she has to struggle. She feels like she has to sacrifice something. Usually it might be the family that would suffer or our work suffers. How do you think women who are in the technical space, how can they keep up? And, being in technology, it's almost like if you go to bed for 1 month and you wake up, it seems as if you've left for like 3 years, because so many new things come up and you always have to keep up. So how do you advise women to be able to keep up with industry trends, especially when they're in this vital stage in their life where they're juggling 1,001 things together? Let me give that to Mayoko.
Okay, thanks, Tuliwa. I think essentially, if the truth is, we should always keep learning, right? Whatever stage you are in life, you should always make efforts to keep learning. And I think the importance of a support system, it cannot be overemphasized. Making sure as a woman you have that support structure that you need. If it is the fact that you need your husband to step up and do some of the work, pitch in. Be vocal about what you need, right? Express what you need. If you need to have nannies, cook, whatever you need, right? Essentially, you shouldn't let motherhood, right, and marriage diminish your personal growth, because I've seen that all of those things don't affect men and growing in their careers. They get married, they have children, and it doesn't limit them. So as a woman, you should also be very, you should make that a core for you that, okay, yes, I'm married, I have children, I want to grow personally in my family life. That's very important to me, but career growth should also be very important. And so if you need that structure in place to make sure that you can go to class at night, go to class on the weekends, it's only for a period of time. Sometimes they say 1 year will go by, 5 years will go by anyway. So why not just also do what you need to do in terms of the course you need to take and all of that, because those years will still pass by. And it's only for a period of time. So make the sacrifice that's needed at that point in time. And also the truth is, as busy as we are, we also find time for other things. People are on social media, Instagram, Twitter. So you can use some of that time, right? To also, if you're taking an online course that it's not a specific time, you can take, some snatches of time, right? To also do that. Maybe decide, listen, I'm off Twitter for the next few months while I have to focus on this. I'm off Instagram. So it depends on your priorities and what you want to do. But I truly believe that once you put your mind to it, you can do it. And you will find that you start it ends, and you've gotten what you need to do. And like had been mentioned earlier, you need that knowledge to grow. So then make the effort to actually gain the knowledge so that when it's time to find the right person for the role, you're not found wanting because you don't have the skills that are needed.
Thank you very much. Ms. Carey, what's your thoughts on this as well?
You actually need to be deliberate at every phase in your life. There are times you would have time to take the university course for a year or an MBA. There are times you will have to do your self-paced courses. There are times you would be able to leverage on your neighbor, and then there are times in which you have to go and to your mother-in-law or something. So for every decision you make, the onus is on you not to ensure that it doesn't stifle your career path or your growth. There's always a way. There's always a way. It might look like a struggle at a particular point in time. You might probably be choking yourself. There was a time, had to, it's clockwork. Take a bath, take the child to school, come back, dress up, go to work, come back, cook, do. It's like a cycle at a particular point in time, and it never ends. But at the same time, so for me, every year or every other year, I must take a course. I must take a course. And I just finished the last one now, and somebody was asking me, I mean, one of the board members, I said, look, I have to go to class. And he says, what are you teaching? And I said, no, I'm not teaching. I am. So you must continue learning. You must continue. So you have to maneuver it a day at a time. But you have to be very deliberate and understand what you want. Yes, you want to grow your family. Yes, you want to grow your career. Yes, you want to have a wonderful married life. There are sometimes there's give and take, like Mayako has said. There are some times that you decide that, okay, this weekend, since I don't have too many things to do, it's a movie and it's staying in bed and it's this. And then the next weekend, you can't do that. So it's a day at a time, but be deliberate about your plans at all points in time. There's never going to really be a balance. I don't think so. But you have to juggle. There are certain things that are very important. You don't want to miss the growing up of the certain timelines of your children. And then after you are an MD or you're a chairman of something, your child is on drugs. So all of those things, you just know for every decision there is there is a repercussion, there is something that is going to give. But then there are certain things that you need to do and you have to do, and you should make sure you do it. So that would be my own. You have to just continue juggling the whole thing. After a while, it will settle down to the point that you are the only one in the house with your husband and you're looking, where did all the children go? And then there's silence, So it will settle down. There's just this time, like, it will pass. It will pass, but within that time, please try and juggle everything. Just try your best.
Thank you very much. It's really important because, I'll say my age, we're about that time in our lives where we have to juggle everything. We have to be deliberate about it also. We have to take it a day at a time, but be deliberate and not necessarily sacrifice one thing entirely for the other. Not wake up 10, 15 years down the line and we wish we had made a better decision. So just like you mentioned, just like Mayako mentioned, everyone has said anyways, we need to be deliberate, take it a day at a time, and leverage on our support system, your husband, mother-in-law, mother, anyone who wants to be there. I remember Tommy also mentioned that these people would not come knocking to say, how can I help you? You have to speak out and say, I need assistance, and they will be there to provide such assistance. So at this point, I would like to let's take a breather while we invite the Investment One team to discuss with us more on their product, and then we'll give this as an opportunity for the audience to drop in more questions. I have a lot of questions. I still have so many things to ask our panelists, but let's leave also time for the audience participation. Like I mentioned earlier, I said I spell my amazing with double I. So if you take ZIING, you pronounce Zinged, which is the product Investment One has, an amazing product also. And I'll let Gloria tell us a bit more about it.
Hi, Tilewa. Thank you. Thank you so much to all our speakers. It's a very, very insightful session. So while we wait for everyone else to drop in, I see questions are already coming in. So while more questions come in, I just want to tell us again about the Zinged app, because a lot of people do not understand how easy it is for you to put your money and let your money work for you. It's not all about you working for your money. Let your money work for you. And you can earn as high as 10% on your investments. So we have the Z plan option where you get to fix your money for a certain duration and you earn interest on your money for however long you choose. And then you can also choose any of the mutual fund options from Abacus Money Market that is currently doing close to about 7% per annum. And if you don't want to do Naira, we also have dollar investment, which is our VDF, Vantage Dollar Fund. So you can also invest in dollar. And if you have a little bit of risk appetite, is a bit higher than normal, and you want to go into the Nigerian Stock Exchange, feel free to, open a stockbroking account still on the Zinc app. That's how diverse the app is. You can explore and choose any options. And if you also need guidance on what options to choose, or you're not so sure how you should go about it, especially for newbies who are just coming into the investment industry as investors, you can reach out to us. You can call us, our contact details, I will share it after the webinar. You can send us a message, a mail, or you can reach us on our social media platform at Zing_it. So like I said earlier, you can download the app on the App Store and on Google Play Store. So once you download the app, I'll be playing a short video that will direct you on how to complete the sign-up process on the app and then begin investments. So let me quickly share my screen. Right. Okay. There we go. Let me do a full screen. Okay. I don't know if everyone can see the video before I play it. Can we all see the video?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So here we go. All right, so that is it. As simple as ZIING, you can begin your investment. So once you complete the sign-up process, then you can explore all the options available on the app. So Tilewa, I see questions coming in. I think you can take the questions now, so speakers can address them.
Okay, thank you very much, Gloria. So a few questions from the audience. Obviously, there's one that talks on the touched. How do I get investors for my startup? That's a very nice question. And I'll leave it to Tomi. Would you like to take this question? I mean, you probably found yourself in our shoes as well.
Well, it's because, okay, so I guess there are several ways. It depends on the stage of the business the person is at. I think that there are basic things to do, or if you're trying to get a pre-seed, or maybe you're just trying to speak to angels, maybe that's your first check. I think you can reach out to people within your network, people who you know would believe in you, because at the first stage of of raising funds, it's all about the founder. It's all about what you, how you're able to convince investors that you are the right person to solve the challenge. It's not fully, I like to say it's a fundraising is an art and a science. And I'm sure that this person asking is talking about the very early stage. You're talking about the art side of it. So it's not about having multiple revenue at the stage. So it's usually very important to just be able to communicate the vision, be very clear about your unique selling point or the value proposition, and showing clarity that this is how we are going to get the revenue. And there's also very important to know the matrix, to know your numbers, to know what is important, what this money, the use of funds, where this money will take you. I think in the very early stage, it's just about you being able to articulate what the money is for, what the unique proposition is, and being able to build trust with those investors. So I'm assuming that this person is about the pre-seed or at that early stage. As you move towards the seed and the Series A, at seed, you need to start showing some form of traction. You need to start putting together a very solid valuation model, numbers, being ready for more of due diligence, people looking into your commercial, people looking into your legal, people looking into your financial statements, knowing that this is what you are doing or this is where you are going. And at that stage, I think it's important to work with the professionals, work with lawyers, you can find them. People always assume that everyone they are out of the course is out of their league. It's not true. If you want to build an institution, it's important to set the foundation right and the systems in place at the beginning. So when you're moving into that seed stage, it's still an art or a bit of an art and a science, but there you validated the idea. You're showing that these are the early people who have shown interest in this business. And when you move into the Series A's, I like to say it's a lot easier because it's just about your numbers, what you've done, and then the multiples and the comparables. So back to it, I think I want to believe again that this person is starting from the pre-seed stage. And the second thing is also, once you attract one person, if it's $50,000, take it on and move with it. A lot of people tend to say, I'm looking for $200,000, and they are waiting until they get all of that money. Collect the $50,000, make progress with it. So by the time you're talking to the next person, you've shown progress. Collect another $50,000, make progress with it. Don't wait until, I've gotten all of this $1 million. Now I want to work. It doesn't work like that because you need to consistently show that you're trustworthy, your idea is valuable, and you want the investors to say, okay, fine. If she got $50,000 just 3 months ago, and this has been the impact, this is how she's been able to leverage this $50,000 to grow this way. Meaning, if I give $100,000, there might be a 2x that growth. So it's also knowing that you need to consistently follow through. No one is going to, even if someone says, oh, I like your pitch, I'm interested in this product. No one is going to, again, beg you to come and even you need to consistently communicate with them. Oh, I spoke to you last week. This is our update now. This is what's been happening. You need to knock on doors. You need to let them know that you're not here you're here for the long haul. Whether or not their money coming, you're going to find a way. That tenacity, that perseverance is important to investors. And also let them know that you have a long-term view. People want exit. People want to know that this is how I'm going to get my money back. It's not a grant. It's not freebie. So yes, so that's, I hope it's a fundraising conversation can be a lot because it depends on what stage you are at. But I hope that was helpful to the person who asked the question.
Let me ask a follow-up question to that. Has the government helped in supporting women in tech space? How has the government helped, if at all?
I looked and realized I was the only one unmuted so far, so I'll answer. From my experience, I don't see they haven't made anything easier for women. So we are actually playing on the same level ground. So a man is not like, oh, they're giving her more opportunities than me. In fact, the opposite is the case. So I haven't received any support specifically because I'm a woman founder or because I'm a female founder in the fintech space or whatever support. So no, my answer is no to that question, but I'll let maybe others have experience. I have experiences I don't have, and maybe I'm willing to learn if I can leverage government support there. Thanks.
I'd like to add to that. So I actually think that the government is just at the infancy of really doing things for the technology ecosystem and creating avenues for the technology ecosystem to grow, right? And I do think that, especially at the state level, there is being a lot done through organizations like LSETF that have the Lagos Innovates program, for example. And I think that it's a gradual thing, right? And I think generally my argument is always when it comes to, you know, sort of like building the ecosystem and building human capital and building skills and building companies, we need to build all companies, right? We need to build all people up. We have a lot of men who are unemployed, a lot of women who are unemployed, right? A lot of boys that are less privileged. So I was speaking to someone and she was saying she went into a community to do a program for girls, getting them into technology. The boys came to the program and said, Auntie, what about us? What chances are you creating for us, right? So I think that, you know, sometimes when we use a gender lens to look at an ecosystem that is at its infancy, right, then we now somehow feel like, oh, we're being marginalized, but they're just starting, right? So I think we need to also cut the government some slack and actually say, you know what, if we compare this to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or Yemi can probably speak to 20 years ago, right? You are finally doing something, right? And I think that is where we need to start. And I think we need to, as you know, senior women in the industry, need to get involved into these programs, right? Like Yemi rightfully said at the beginning, right? A lot of it is about giving back, about sharing your knowledge, about sharing the experience that you have, right? And we have access to leadership, right? At state level, at federal level. That is where we need to talk about creating these gender lens focused opportunities, right? Ensuring that, you know, we as women also invest in women and support women, whether it is through mentorship, whether it is through actually investing into startups that are founded by women. And I mean, Yemi founded Rising Tide Africa, which is a female angel investment network that I'm part of as well, right? And one of the things that I love about RTA is the fact that we ensure that, you know, even male founders in technology have gender balance, right? And there've been a couple of deals that have fallen through because you just don't have enough diversity at board level or at management level, right? So we are able to sort of push some of these changes, right? But I think that if there are not enough women who are investing and who are also advocating for these type of programs or creating these type of programs, then it's not going to happen, because you have to also think about the fact that the people who are creating these programs, these funds and things like that, a lot of the time they are male, right? So they're going to create what they know and what they can do and what they do. We need to be there to say, okay, this is great, but we need a quota. 25% of this fund needs to go to female-owned businesses, right? And then there's the problem of, will you even find 25% of female-owned businesses? I just started a new startup where we're looking to give student loans to people who are trying to launch their career in technology, right? And we did a call for applications. We had 300 applications. We had 23% female applications, right? The females that were shortlisted and that were tested scored the highest. They were the most focused, but even by the time we gave them offer letters, only 14% of women are now in our cohort. So the problem is not just, oh, what is leadership doing? What are women doing? And how do we support each other? How do we push each other to go and ask for the funding, to go and knock on those doors, right? A lot of the time, I think that, you know, we're sitting there folding our hands thinking, oh, the government is going to provide. Oh, these investors are going to come. No. What dream world do you live in, right? You need to go and find what it is that you want and go and look for those opportunities. And when there's an opportunity for funding, it is for everybody, including you as the woman, right? So if you then don't go and apply for those funds and you don't go and, you know, look at who do I know in this government and who do I know that knows somebody who can put in a word for me to make sure that I get that funding, then who are you blaming, right? Because that's what the guys are doing. They're going to call their network and say, Egbon, please tell this guy that I've applied, or let them, you know, even if they don't, you know, like let them at least put my application high so that I have higher chances. We're not doing any of that. We'll be like, okay, let's be good girls and wait for merit, or maybe we won't even apply because, you know, we think, well, maybe we're not ready yet, or there's one criteria that we don't meet. You know, men are like 10 criteria, I meet 2, I'm ready to apply, right? So it's that mentality that holds us back a lot of the times, right? And, you know, this is why I also think like these like women-focused programs, sometimes aren't actually as positive, as they could be, simply because, it already means like you are lesser if you're in those type of programs, simply because they look at it as, okay, let's make this little thing for them, so that they will keep quiet and say that we've done something, right? We need to be in those positions that make those decisions, not the ones that are looking for a handout. And I think that's really where the change has to happen.
A lot of things you said. Tomi, your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to add to what Ms. Uwaji said. I think just the same way you hear Africans say, I didn't realize I was Black until I got to America. It's very important that I think one of the things that it's important that we are fighting the same. You're not saying, oh, I need help. I know that there's importance of equity and putting people on the same level playing ground before they can now seek out equality or whatever that is. But I didn't come into the space saying that, oh, I'm female, so I need. So when you asked that question, to be honest, I was quite confused, because when he talks about what the government is doing for the ecosystem, very well, but I never ever thought that there should be something specifically being done for women. However, though, I think something I remember that happened once is about actually representation, and that's why RTE as a group is very critical. Because there's the boys club to call and say, and if you're not able to enter into that club, which is why if you have women investing in women, and I can pick up my call and say, well, who do you know, to RTE and say, well, please, who do you know in these places? You won't have those opportunities. I remember 3 years ago, I applied for something, and it was a done deal. In fact, I didn't apply. I was called that, oh, your solution will fit for this. It has something to do with the government. It was a good lever for growth for the startups I've seen that's done it. And I was excited where we were able to, I had insight. I asked questions of what are the things they really need? What are the challenges? So I solved it and it was a done deal. So when I got the email saying we weren't selected, I was devastated. So I picked up my phone and looked and said, who, all men by the way, I say, who knows this person, who's decision maker, not to influence, to be very, because it was already done. But I was so devastated. I said, I really want to know what the selection, what did I miss out of? What was that thing that was not in my application for the next time? So I said, I called a friend and said, can you help me reach out to these people? I need feedback, because I've asked them via email that, can they give me feedback? They say they don't give feedback. I'm like, that's unfair. I would like to have feedback. And it's interesting because, as I said, so they called him. I was having lunch with another big brother, and he was like, oh, how is it? What's going on with you? And I'm like, I'm a little bit depressed over this. I said, oh, I know him. You know how guys say, I know him. Let me pick up the call and call him. Of course, I didn't get the feedback, because he then felt like, oh, do you think you're going to influence me? But the truth is, because all of them, I didn't even feel, all of them were making calls. I later realized that the person who got it is just because of network, just because a friend, he came to me and said, I saw your application. This is how I got it. To be very truthful, let's put it out there, because it's true. I saw your application. This is how. So the truth is, having representation of someone who also has your back, it's unfortunate, but I've never seen myself as, female, but truth, I just go for the same thing they're going for, reach out to the same men they want to reach out to as possible as I can. So I don't see myself as just the same way an African doesn't realize they're Black until they're America. I'm in Africa and I don't realize, I just act like, I just act like I'm going for the same opportunities. I'm calling the same people. If I can get it, if you can get it, I can, and that's it. However, it's really true that there is need for, it's simply to have representation, simply to have people in. But I will say also that the same way women are helpful, men are. Without just, so if he's a man, I can't reach out to him. Men are helpful if you ask for those helps. So let's not restrict ourselves to gender lens. And we also can't say that the government, I generally think the government have put in policies and structures that has helped technology in Nigeria particularly to scale. If we didn't have all of the NIBs and the switch, the kind of the infrastructure that is available in the US for money transfer, for instant remittances and all of those do not exist exists here. And it's on this infrastructure that government policies has helped that people are building innovation on. So let's recognize what they've done and then ask and being part of the policy influencers to ask for more things to be done. But I don't think that, I haven't seen anything specific for women that say, hey, women in tech, come get this money. Nothing like that yet.
Thank you very much. A lot of things you guys have said. Did I say guys? A lot of things you said about networking. Really, it's really key. And I do not have enough time. I was going to take Miss Kerry and ask her to tell us a little bit more about Rising Tide Africa, because I found it really, really good when I read about it. It's really nice that women stick together. They have the support of women, and with women supporting women, not only just women, men supporting women, and women supporting men, with everyone supporting each other, we can get to where we need to be at. And it's always good. Sometimes you are unaware of an opportunity, but with your network, you could call and you can leverage on that and get to where you need to go to. So let me take the final question. Someone had said, my bosses would rather give me feminine tasks, and I'm usually too swamped with being the pretty face of the company to do real work. What I really want is to get into the dirty work just like the guys. What can I do? Mayoko, I don't know if you'd like to take this question.
Yeah, yes, thank you. So I find that sometimes it's a problem that you can find yourself in as a young lady in an organization, where sometimes as the woman in the room, it's thought that, okay, you're the one to take the minutes, you're the one to organize the events and all of that. But what I advise young women to also do is put up your hand for what you consider the dirty work, right? Even before it's assigned to anyone or it's assigned to you, speak up and say, I can do this as well. Like Ms. Yemi had said, when she had taken on the secretary role, she kept doing more and more, right? So sometimes you're not assigned these tasks to do, but step up and agree to do it. And then as you start to do more, then people are forced to see you as not just the pretty face, but also a very capable hand in the organization. And also you also sort of have to, so as you grow, and I want to be careful in saying this, right? As you grow in the organization, you can also start to be very firm about saying, I can't do this. And I'm being careful about this advice because I don't want you as entry level, and then you go into the company and say, no, I'm not doing this, right? You have to balance it. But as you grow in being an example in the organization as a woman, you should also speak up to say, listen, just because she is the woman doesn't mean she should do this. Or I, as the woman, I don't have to do this, right? So I think that's very, very important. But as a young lady, take the opportunities. Yes, you're being seen as the pretty lady. Do those tasks, but do other things as well, because things will come up, do them, and then also speak up. I've never seen it where you're fired for speaking up, where you're fired for asking for more, or you're fired for saying, I want to do this extra tasks. In fact, in most cases, your boss will welcome that. And they might have seen you as shying away from the dirty work. But if you actually, and in fact, personally, that's something I've always told myself, that if something is considered dirty work, that's exactly what I'm going to do, because I need to prove that it is not dirty. It's not just something that's limited to the man, or don't shield me because I'm the woman. So I think it's very important that as a young person, as a young lady, raise up your hand, step up, go out of your comfort zone, and prove yourself and prove the fact that you're more than capable.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be taking that. I hope my boss is not going to be upset when I start applying all the things you said. So thank you very much. I would want to give this question also to Ms. Kerry. I think she should tell us a little bit more about Rising Tide Africa. I am really interested. It's something I mean, Tommy has mentioned it, Kem has said something about it. So I think Ms. Kerry should also say something on this really good initiative.
Yeah, thanks. Rising Tide Africa, we're a group of female angel investors. Our focus is to galvanize women to see angel investing as another asset class other than your real estate or your financial instruments. Because you are able to, not only invest, but then we also mentor and educate the entrepreneurs. The key thing is that because you have walked the work as a woman, you are able to understand where the other woman is coming from. We believe that the more female investors that we have, the more opportunities that are going to be there for the female entrepreneurs. So we prioritize female-led businesses or female-owned businesses, and we always, even if we find a good deal with a male-founded business, we always advocate that there must be gender balance in your management or your team. Otherwise, you must be providing a solution that really is solving a problem for the more women, and that's pretty much what we do. We are about 64 members. As on Cape, we know we don't have any staff. So all of the women volunteer. They volunteer for the investment pillar, for the mentoring pillar, for the education pillar, membership. So when you're coming into Rising Tide, you will say, okay, this is where I want to sit. Some do 2 or more, like Nike Jackman, she does investments, she does she's our head of finance, she does a lot of mentoring. So there are some people that really are givers like that and are selfless, and they come in, because of the culture they meet, they also want to be part of this. We also not only invest in our entrepreneurs, we mentor them to the next level of growth. So when we have a business that we know that requires certain hand-holding, we then set up teams that will look at your HR, that we look at your technology, for each of the businesses, and of course we like feisty, energy-driven, integrity women like Lola. We did invest in Bankley, and hers was one of the businesses that we had about 80% of the women raise up their hands that they were interested in investing. It's because we invest in the founder, and like you have seen today, who is not going to want to invest in her? Even if the business takes a different turn going down the line because of issues or environmental circumstances, we will still be there behind her and so sort of nurture on. So that is pretty much what we do at Rising Tide.
That is really great. How can we volunteer?
You can become a member. So the membership team will, you just go to Rising Tide Africa, or you write to membership@risingtideafrica.com. I'll put that in there's no chat room. Membership@risingtideafrica.com, and then you just apply that you want to become a member. But the critical thing for you to know is that in investing, we allow you to invest as much as you have, with a minimum of about $1,000 or $2,000, something like that, so that you're not in a competitive zone.
Competition.
Say that because somebody is investing 5,000, you want to match. No. Just as much as you have, and because we say that you are taking a high risk in investing in early stage businesses, because you do not know whether they will grow or whether they will die. And so it's money that you are able to lose, but you also build relationships and you develop yourself as a Rising Tide member, whether you're in the investment area or in the mentoring area or in the education, you develop yourself, and we give opportunities for our members to go speak on panels, create business clinics for them and things like that. So it's a good space to be in.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to everyone. And I'm sure the entire audience would agree that this has been an amazing, amazing 1 hour, 34 minutes. And it almost feels as if we shouldn't put an end to this. We just continue talking and talking. It's really, really nice to have all 4 of you. And I know many people would have other questions for you. So is it possible they can reach out to you outside this space, maybe on your social media handles? And anyone that has any questions for you, I don't know what you guys.
Sure. I'm open to that.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. People can reach out.
Yeah, same here.
So that's the entire audience. Please, you can reach out to any one of them, Nkem, Mayokun, Tomi, and Miss Kerry, and they would gladly take your questions and help you with advice, networking, and support when you need. And let me just end with what Tomi said earlier. If you need assistance, please ask. No one is going to come to you and say, how can I help you? Take the initiative, be bold, be determined, and plan to excel as a woman in tech. Thank you very much to everyone. And that's it. It's a wrap from me, and I will hand over to the Zinc team.
Thank you, Tilewa. Thank you to all our speakers for taking out time to, do this webinar with us. Thank you, Ms. Yemi. Thank you, Kim Dili. Thank you, Mayokun, and thank you, Tomilola. Thank you very much. So I'll be bringing in our group sales and marketing executive, Mr. Francis Eboyi, for the closing remark.
Good afternoon, and thank you very, very much for gracing this occasion. I know that, after all this, I was thinking maybe I should just join a rising tide too. but it's good to know that there's something out there. There's a platform out there for women to actually advance their thoughts and ideas in terms of businesses. So I want to congratulate all of you on what you're doing. On behalf of Investment One, on behalf of Zing, I want to thank you especially for gracing this occasion, for bringing to us your knowledge and experience over the years and getting people to actually learn from them. I'm sure, you may not know, but you have really touched some lives. So thank you very much again, and God bless you all. Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, bye. Bye. Bye, Yemi.